Yo, what's good, everybody? Samal here. Welcome back to another formal review. As you see by the title, it is Avatar 3, aka Avatar Fire and Ash, spoiler-free review, aka I'm not going to be touching into spoilers. I will be referencing things that only people have seen the movie by the time I'm recording this in comparison, right, the day before, as not even the day that it actually comes out. It comes out December 19th. It is December 18th, aka 12/18/2025, right? Close to 2026. It's crazy how it's almost been entirely 4 years since I worked at this movie theater that I came from, right? I'm chilling in the mall. But yeah, so let me go ahead and talk about the film. I just want to say, I feel like the film lived up to every expectation you would have from Avatar 2. Its weight, its literal unadulterated gas is all there. I think it's all around a very lovely, watchable. This movie, even though it's very evident it's 3 hours, it doesn't feel like 3 hours. It does have a lot going on to like chain together. It does come together very cohesively, solidly, watchably. It's nothing bad. Everything about it is cool. I love how the movie comes together. I love everything that makes it is what it is. And I feel like it is a very fun film. I think it's very, not only, enjoyable in every sentiment of the way. I think it did a lot of interesting concepts that probably makes it, to me, better than Avatar Way of Water, Avatar 2. I don't think either one of these films stand to the same greatness that Avatar 1 does, right? Because Avatar 1 is, undisputed, profound, like GOAT to me. Because in case you guys have not been, viewers of this channel or don't know me, Avatar 1 is my favorite to think of, not only, this type of sci-fi, greater theoretical future, stylistic film, going to new heights of adventure, unique expedition. Avatar 1 is my favorite movie of all time and one of my favorite forms of literature in general. I think Avatar is a not only concept. I love the world. I love Pandora. I love everything about it. And it just makes me get into a whole different level of like nerd fest. I'm trying to keep this as, solidly explained as possible. This out of theater basically review. I'm like fucking 10 to 15 minutes out of the theater, taking in my thoughts, thinking about how I'm gonna record this. The fact is that I think Avatar is not only, again, a profound film, beautiful case of concept, but it's an absolute throw at every concept. I love Jake Sully. Jake Sully is easily my favorite movie protagonist. I love everything about him. He's cool in every sense of the way. But back again to my point, I think that this movie has so many interesting endeavors and different things that it very much is good, lovely, and I really mess with it. I mess with every single thing about it. It's cool, and I don't think there's any question that, again, it lives up to the legacy of Avatar 2. It's a worthy sequel. But the thing about this film that I feel like a lot of people are going to have similar opinion of is that it feels very like finale-like. It feels very good finish, very defined, executed, and all-around core theme. And being the last, line of doing anything, the last stand. I think in all different regards for, concept of Avatar films is fine, but this story with Jake Sully, Neytiri, the family, the entire crossroads of conflict between Jake Sully, the, human battalion, and against, the corporal, all that shit, I feel like was goodly ended. There's potential and there's open-endedness in the film. But I think that everything that it was goodly ended. There's no real need for other films. I'm kind of mixing like different broad like sources and saying there's going to be, 5 films altogether. Like we have Avatar 1, 2, Way of Water, Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, all that shit, which I love the title, right? I don't really feel like there needs to be more films that are actually sequels to this story. You have to understand is that this is a solid trilogy. I know James Cameron, why he took so long, and there's so much investment, so much behind the scenes shit. It's been a minute since I got tapped back into it, but it was all kind of like creative, in-depth differences between points to point, and pretty much he wanted to make a big plus quadrilogy. I don't have a problem like others with the idea of staying in Pandora and making movies about different people from different factions, different characters of the Na'vi. But I think Jake Sully is good to end his character. I think he has had a nice resolution. I think his character has been very enjoyably consistent regardless of how it's differed in a very natural way, a very cool, curious way. And I really do ride with the idea of a lot of people possibly inconsistent. Again, this is my opinion. I haven't talked to anybody else of this film, right? I'm the nerd here about this shit. I would like to say that most people are going to think, hey, if this shit ended, I'll probably be happy. Probably good. I know that the fourth one from different rumor is like about greater deal of the sky air people. You have to understand, there's the Air Force people, there's the water people, and you'll see the fire people, these kind of barbaric, devilishly demon town talking, reckon in Mongolian folklore horror story type niggas. They reckon Far Cry Primal Azila, you know what I'm saying? Fire people, right? And then there's talk about earth people, people who live under the ground. You know, I'm talking all elements in this bitch. I don't really feel like that needs to be explored with these characters. Explore that with new characters or by themselves. You can explore the world of Pandora. It's a big planet, bigger than Earth, biodifferent simulation account. And I never played it because it don't seem like my type of game. But Avatar Frontiers, from what I know, is basically that. We're in Pandora, but we're doing our own thing. Fuck the greater wide story. We don't need to do that. So James Cameron wants to make those movies. I would suggest, if he hasn't already finished them, because a lot of this plan was already commenced. That's why Avatar, 1 to 2 is such a big, stark contrast difference. I feel like he should just finish it. There's no need. Like, it's not even needed. What the fuck is the point of that? You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at it, because regardless, hopefully, because I think they're good films, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch the films. I'm going to peek this stuff. I just don't really feel like there's a need to keep going. We've made a good conclusion. It's a good end. It's a good story. Let's just end, on that, in my opinion. And the reason why I feel greater of this, even though, again, I think there could be potential, I think the main reason is it's not repetitive, but I can see a reason why these films kind of feel a little bit the same plain concept with different dynamics of cool shit. The films are always going to be flavorful, in my opinion. They always have some level of succulentness. And I don't think there's any objective case of problem and concept with it going out its way to push to make films in this style where it's a simple warfare story, simple conflict of pretty much these, outside of this world colonizing this planet of people for whatever different, greater motivations and ideals of preservation of their species while trying to wipe out another to reform their entire species on top of them. Classic story of pretty much us over them for a greater strive, right? I love the concept, but I think it has been fully, utilized to the best benefit. And I feel like it's been executed as thoroughly as you can. And I don't think it needs to extend more. I don't know why niggas swim with this being said. I got a big ass jacket. The fact is that, I think the all-around story has been done so good that, again, it doesn't really need to keep going on. And in this movie, again, without spoiling it, anybody you think is opposition to Jake Sully, they're done in this movie. Like, in a good way, and I'm not going to say how, why, all that shit, but I just feel like there's no real care. I want to say that I think if it would continue, they would need to take every person that has been insinuated, deliberately put on display, fully shine, to be out of the picture, and then in greater detail, make new threats that actually hold a bigger stake and weight, that is more individualistic and not this same thing. It's getting samey. Especially because, I don't know if this would be a big spoiler, but in the synopsis of this film, pretty much, it takes place decently right after the second film. There is no big time skip. It's probably like day and a half's worth of difference. Literally, the conflict is already brewing. People mourning after Zatam, beautiful name. That was Scully's firstborn's name, his greatest son, his ultimate heir, his replica, a father's dream of basically out the womb, out the fucking vagina, exactly me. He, him for real. This is what I imagine when I look in the mirror of my greatest self, my prime, my astral, my defined fucking seed burst into a whole different doorstep. You feel what I'm saying? That's him, right? He is still mourning him. The Terry in shambles. Everybody going for their own thing. And it's all tied to keeping, preserving his family, preserving AWA's people, preserving any sense of peace. And AWA is a lot more bigly attached and bigly, striking big intrigue and greater interest than ever, because they try to tap more into her. They try to show like a little bit more of the connection in a spiritual, like scientific way with her. It's explained a little bit more in depthly why the daughter of a forgotten element of his grace, or whoever she is, has a greater grand scope connection to AWA. I think it is in a pretty reasonable, sensible, and very interesting case of way, and why so much of the events feel, even if you could title it in some smidge blatant plot relevance, it makes somewhat of very verifiable sense. Now, let me get to that, because that's something that you could say is a con. I think the plot arguable relevance and what makes the film what it is, it makes sense. It's not like it's devoid of any coolness. It's just, it kind of comes and goes of being okay, it makes sense how it happens, but it's already happened before. I'm not going to say exactly how, but there's a lot of things with this movie that you could say fits the bill for convenience. It's not like plot holes or whoppy-doo. It's not like nothing is unique. It's not like nothing's creative or sensible or makes sense or isn't consistent in the foundation, the rules and principles that abide within the film. It's just that there's an argument, especially with the ending, the third act. I think the third act is all around bussing, but you can say it kind of fits the same feel that there's two other movies done. This series right now is 3 for 3 with kind of fitting the idea that we are doing what we're doing by the strongest sense of our conviction. We don't give up. We got will, boundless. We on one. We stand 10 toes for our people. You know what I'm saying? But AY always coming in clutch for us because it's faith. That's cool. But when it's only kind of seeming all begrudgingly, we are standing against these odds that can never go against, potential. We do all this writing. We do all this fuel. We do all this build up for these people to fight against these odds, right? And none of it seems to matter by their acts. It's always AY, even if it's them making it happen. I don't know if he's trying to do something symbolic or do anything of greater sense, because I do understand the symbol of Avatar meaning a greater, deeper, touch within the spirit and connection of the mind and fueling the body to a different spark, laying every sense of the way higher standpoint of, I guess, dive in to what is not in full known, trusting the unknown sometimes, aka having faith, can actually give different presence of guide when you don't expect it. That type of storytelling and belief is fine, but if it's the only thing that's really to be counted for, basically meaning that AWOC can be the scapegoat, it loses value. I feel like the movie could have done something unique where we're going to take away Iwa as the main presence of really how things tip and scale, and we're going to let Awa show that even though she is this high grandmother, she's Mother Nature, she's the all top tier, goddess of gods. You know what I'm saying? She's the ultimate circle. And it's not even like all these factions have different branches of religion, which could have been interesting to say that the fire people have a different stand of religion. They're more rebellious without greater spoiling it. But more or less, it's kind of like Awa being, again, the top stand, stain lay of the entirety of the Pandora's people's, foundation of belief. She is their Abrahamic goddess that lays all foundation. She is Mother Earth. She is, again, Mother Nature. She is the catalyst, the entire, consensus, the crucium to all things that come in play, everything that comes alive. I think there's a little touch of not really drastically changing things in such a unique way to the point where it does kind of feel a little bit samey. Now, I'll give you this. When Awa gets into, the fray, when she, puts her hand in the crossfire of what's going on, it's not like every sense of conflict or any sense of I guess tension or dramaticness or threat is just trampled, but it kind of destroys any sense of levy for actual creative difference. It seems like our characters are backed against a corner. We are fucked. And then AWA just comes out of nowhere. It's not like it's not anything good. I just feel like that kind of theme, even though every time AWA shows up, it's unique, it's cool, it's beautiful, and there's still tension. There was still a chance for bad. I just feel like it never really worked. And I feel like what should have happened was, for the first time, AWA decides, I'm done giving y'all, multiple freebies. I'm done holding your hand. I'm done stringing in all this different pot and, pans, to cook up a way to make shit happen. I'm done basically throwing y'all every sense of freebie to conform, to my religion, aka my belief, to the fullest, because here and there, especially throughout the 3 films, there's always some level of like differing and or never really fully coming full circle to the belief of AWA, because like a religion in real life, depending on how you perceive it, there's always level of doubt, there's always level of second guessing, there's always self-conscious that it would never truly work in their favor. So in this time, when AWA seems to be a person that acts on the will for people and is always Navi over everything, she does not do everything on the like backhand of, you know, AWA. They can't just call upon her like mommy or any different consensus of, I'm just your instrument of different karma and destruction. She'll have every reason to stand against the sky people, aka humanity. But her all-around governing body is most likely going to be in the grand scope fine and be in self-privation, right? With or without them. Even if there's some credit of truth that the fact of the matter is why Pandora is always at big stake, is because humanity, what made Earth literally get wiped off the senses is humanity being so enthralled and plagued with over curiosity and greed and whatever the fuck ignorance that they fully self-destruct their entire planet, killed it from the inside out, plagued it, fully absolved it of life. They're trying to do the same thing to Pandora, because when they colonize it, when they fully copy humanity on this planet, what's inevitable? Humanity, most likely over time, because it took a long time for this to happen, will slowly deconstruct entirely, fully, you know, mistreat the planet and downform any sense of strongness. Pandora is beautiful, it's flourishing, it's the magnum opus of a planet. It is a earthly body. Them being too much on it invites overstay for like chaotic usage and over infatuation with the planet's resources and what it can give to humanity to make them rich, make them spoiled and overly privileged, and disregarding the sense of already governed and configured humanity on this planet. They'll entirely dispose of whatever nurturing coolness or body that is Pandora and its people and do mass scale genocide just to get another fling of not only more form of territory and more standing of this. AWA pushing past, you know, the idea of wanting to keep this in some form of more Navi side of, you know, purpose could make a different invokement of, okay, AWA is a goddess, she will help us here and there, but it doesn't mean that we're devoid of any actual accountability to our actions and what we course about. And I feel like it makes what Jake Sully or what anyone tries to do kind of like negligent of real weight that really is carried by them. I feel like I'm seeing people be put against the wall, get bullied, get foddered. These niggas getting fucked, my nigga. And AWA just comes in to just, I don't know, dunk on the enemies. It's kind of like basic. It's not cool necessarily, but it's just like, I just feel like it could have been a lot more standout. I think it's mainly a problem in this movie. They did all this weight, and you kind of backdoored the people with never really making an actual effort to make all this salvage of time, you know, morale, and getting Jake Sully to be goated. Because no matter Jake's fault, I'm going to get to him. I got a lot to say about Jake. I still think he's a very bussin' and defined character, and I love every essence of him. But I just feel like, what is the point of making a protagonist pull his greater end weight? And he does do a great deal, and I do love what he's done with his character, and I do love the fact that there is every level of a good, all-around, thoroughly beautiful, even, character course with him. I just feel like they could have done more, and that's my, like, biggest, I guess, critique. My other critiques, I'm going to get to the pros, but I think I want to just get out the critiques because I got a lot to say there. This is almost 20 minutes long. It is what it is. You know what you signed up for. It's like, I think the greater critique is like, again, it kind of feels a little bit samey. I feel like the same production and purpose, it didn't fall short of doing more. It just kind of didn't stand too greater out. I think the end-all, be-all for what it was and how it came together was all around cool. But I think they just could have done a little bit more stand-out-ish. Then I think there's a great plague of more or less open-ended kind of curiosity to what happened to some people or what could have happened. I think it was all around still coolly done. I think my biggest mainline critique is more or less the ending in question, and then one situation which has a lot more spoiler than whatever you can make say I've kind of mixed decent tapped into more all-around style of finish within the story, not telling you the whole grand scope, how any all-arounds take, why, because this is pretty much a premise and position that's decently held within this franchise in most niggas' minds. Mixed bag, even though everybody thinks different. But there's a level of like, Jake from the humanity side is a traitor. He's a, criminal. He's a man that needs to be put into custody, put on trial, delivered with the fullest act of punishment and humiliation. He is a rotten seed in humanity's goal to refoundate their world on Pandora's beautiful world. He betrayed this. He's a leech. He's a rat. He's a snake. He's a fuck nigga, bro. And you just have this random situation where it seemed like what already was set up to be a smart tactical plan of saving him was entirely discoursed and like downformed and downsized, right? Of really what was realistic for an outcome to come when it came down to a character like him, right? To be in the situation where he was, aka for there to be a new take of actual win, or I don't know, actual sincerity for coming together in a plot way that wasn't just the most ironic, situationally just plopped up into play, the most random coincidence. It's not like it doesn't have value. It's not an interesting concept or in presentation, not something to question a probability of. It's not like there's no sense of possible reasoning or rationale for it. And I can't really explain it more, but if you've seen the movie, my best way to maybe like greater detailedly describe it in the most concise, definable, wrong case of manner as a brother I feel like the most, sensibly doing, right? Jake Sully being in any way seen in an empathetic light by the human side is so wacky of a concept that there's a level of it would need to be more in-depthly explained. It's one thing if humanity gives sympathy to the Na'vi, but them giving sympathy to the Na'vi is something to be greater explored and maybe explained in an interesting case of dynamic, interesting question of morals and stance in this, war that's a mixed divide between humanity's survival and a Na'vi survival. It's a very indifferent core scope gray with a lot of reasonable follow-up to the degree of very much reasonable to more or less side with, the blue people, because what the humans are doing, even the intentions, are very much understandable, reasonable, rationale for full-fledged drive of absolute desecration, annihilation. I'm talking widespread wreckage, acts and drive for trying to, again, rebuild the mass population of humanity's survival and fully, colonization and conqueror of this planet does have different stigma of very much just humanity being so stuck in their ways of only seeing the way of survival and coexistence or, evolution off the back of blood. There's no chance for argumentation. No one thinks of a greater sentiment of matter. If they do, it always falls back to, they're aliens. We don't give a fuck. So when you have so many mainline people thinking this, why would anyone switch up? Someone switches up. I'm not going to say more about that. And it's never greater explained. It's never deeply evoked. I see why he feels his way, but to do what he does, to then do something about that, I think it's kind of cracking the code a different little dimmer of kind of weirdness. And I think it doesn't really make sense. And it could have just been more stand out and actual greater depthly explained. I just don't really like it and how it's done. But that's my main really standing, in the biggest, kind of mind-boggling critique. Those are my two major big, actual, kind of more or less, there's nitpicky drive to it in the sense that it kind of does pull back on the movie being, I guess, unbeknownst to flaws. But they're, again, not the biggest, sore pull or leave a bad taste in your mouth in the analogy of the movie. They're not the biggest, drawbacks to the film. But again, those are my two big, big hardcore stinging, critiques that do leave a little bit more to be desired in different formation of not only a interesting course of events, plot and situation, but as well end-all execution, all-around gourmet food that was very gracefully, multiple times, fold into play with this. If I had to make an analogy, this movie, a burrito, and all edible and all grown grand taste, but the ending inclusion of some different sediments, of different supplement of nutrients and different shit that kind of made it kind of fall back on a condiment combination, if that makes sense, kind of downform in the end. I just didn't really fuck with it. That's just how I feel. But all my pros is this. I think Jake Sully as a character, like I said, is very good. I think everything that he did was good. I think his voice actor has always lived up to the name of being a brilliantly bussin' voice actor. He is so good in the core case of the performance. I love his attitude. I love his character. I love the progression from Avatar 1, 2, and 3. I feel like it's genuine. I feel like it's sensible for his character. I think there's only one little tick of critique that I feel like is more something to explain in way deeper form, right? Is this, right? Is Jake Sully changes drastically from the first movie. Still keeps the core instance of him being, that sly mouth dog in the fight, Marine. I soldier on. I got a heart pumping of full-fledged blood and killer instinct. I never back down. I got unyielding fear. I got unwavering ferocity, tenacity. My man is brutal in the mix of the fight when it comes down to really gunning for it. He is in every slivication of a whole new level of outstanding warrior. My man claim of being the skybound savior is, an understatement. He really ticks every essence of that. And that's such in a beautiful way. That's not surprising. But my problem stem, there's a whole family talking near me, it's all good. But basically what I was trying to say is basically, right, that him changing from the idea of being the standard, sly mouth, general protagonist, doing whole different booming, different drive to fight for his family beyond any comprehension, right? And on the same level of pretty much soldier fighting for a more, vigorous cause, which is the survival of a race that doesn't deserve to be wiped off the fucking, planet, doesn't deserve to get entirely, planted in the dirt, is now kind of being so conflictively complex, where he's trying to do this while trying to be a good father. He can't leave, from his war veteran, soldier beyond compare level standard archetype, and he stays so heavy on this stuff that there's nothing more that he can really give to his other son, when his other greater son, aka Zetaeum, is literally exact replica of him. He does everything he needs to do. He's a perfect soldier. He's a perfect scavenger. He's a perfect hunter. He does everything that is asked of him, right? He is indeed Jake Sully's son. While his other son, I forgot his name, right? He treats him as very angsty annoyance, because his other son, even though he's always trying, he's the younger brother, he will always fit into some level of the norm of, even though I'm trying to do good, I am willing to do good, I am sometimes seen in too much of a higher stand, I'm expected way too more, and I'm never given the proper respect, consideration, and even likeness that in comparison to my other peers are, because I'm never fitting what is needed in most different confines. He's not the most big ticket sharpness in the shed. He's fucking up. He's drastically bringing new critical measures of high degree fuck over. He's a knucklehead. He's rebellious. He's inconsiderate sometimes. And he dabbles in multiple impulses of a young man that got a lot of heart, got a lot of weight on his shoulders. He got a big chip. He got a lot to live up to. He in a very bad, not his home type of environment. And he got a big, need to prove himself. He got a lot of, thrill doing what is right, for his family, doing what's right for his people. But every aspect of what he's doing kind of falls short when his incompetence is put into play, when he's not actually following what will be most strategic and sensible. He's trying to be a good son in very lousy form, in a very unfortunate predicament. And Jake treats him sometimes like a child that is so much of a insignificant, maybe you could say dweeb or inconvenience, maybe in some think of like, situations because he never does what is needed. He tries to teach him, he tries to hone his skill, he tries to mentor him, and his son just never does what's right. He doesn't listen, he doesn't follow orders, he doesn't soldier. He treats his son more like a soldier than a son that is young and trying to live up to the stake and scenario of his father. And his father is rebellious himself. We saw what he did for what he believed was right. So his son's going to do the same thing. And there's a level of big confliction and all that. And maybe I'm not explaining it in the best tie from, the first movie to the third one, because you have to remember, a little bit of not only a great deal of time has passed, but I did actually, do a big rewatch of both of the films. Before coming to this film, maybe if I rewatched them, I'll have a better case of like consensus. But pretty much he treats him on some occasions like a boy that needs to know better. And he does get, critiqued or talked about it with he needs to not be so overly strict with his son, overly pressed with his son. You can't have always a pessimistic form. You can't just look and see basically the worst in what his son's going to do. His son's going to engage in stupid theatrics. But what child doesn't? He's still a kid. His other son, he's older, he's more experienced, and he has a better hone of this. He's the older brother, and he should be trying to teach this stuff to him. But they both dabble in dumb shit. Zatayam isn't without flaws, and I feel like he fully had to catch wind of that when his son did enact on purposes that did lead to mixed, maybe you could say, consequences, but was always in trying his best. He always was doing right, and he has humanity. He messes up, and Jake Sully was kind of losing touch with humanity and needs to kind of humble ground and resuscitate the values that he was always pushing for, which is that no matter what they look like, the human in them, the spirit, that heart, the values of being a person that no matter their flaws is not detached from goodness, aka the idea and like what Vision said in the words of a wise man, something isn't beautiful because it lasts. Just because something is inherently flawed does not mean it is bad. And Jake was trying to be too much of a perfectionist. I mean, he was basically the grand big G shaman warrior, highest order of dealing the biggest damage to the opposition. He was, the chairman. He was the chieftain. He was the guy that everybody was calling to when it came down to the downfall of, the Sky People. And I think in this film, they showcase how much that weight is still there, how much everything he's doing has always been for his wife, how much he's done so much for his family, why he does everything he does for his people, to keep his people. He loves them, he cares about them, and everything he's going for has always been about them. But the fact that he's getting so pressured, I'm talking, my man has been getting jumped beyond compare. He has so many bats beating over his head and has been dragged through the mud. He's been put through different confines of the biggest worry, stress, had to rock with things that he didn't want to. He's had to detach himself from the culture that he's grounded himself in, that he's been entirely bound to, like never seen, that he's never tried to sever. He's been an unacceptable, G. And then it came down to where he's treating his son with a greater level of dislike, because the level of truth that how Zatayam died in the second movie wouldn't have happened if his other son would have moved more strongly and more sensibly. The values was all there. It was to save his father, but he made strict orders. Him dying had no weight in the grand scope as much of his father's life, because like any possible father or parent would know, I would willingly throw my life to the wolves if it meant you get to go and see another sunrise. His son didn't listen to him. He denied all sense of, trust. He disregarded what he was putting in play for, which was to lead them away so he could give, not only one of the best showcasing of, I don't give a fuck how strong you are, I don't give a fuck how trained you are, my name is Jake Big Sully Jenkins, and I'm willing to dispatch every level of five-finger fucking, fucking built different hands beyond compare. My man dabbled in all different grade A squabbles, dog fight. They don't give a fuck, like every like sense, you know what I'm saying? Like level of demon time, because a man been talking for so long that a man kind of got something to just throw pause. The fully best, concentrate and full, articulate on this is that he's a definition of I don't give a fuck. It don't matter what the type of situation is. I'm always standing 10 toes. I got an uncomparable level of knack for dealing these hands, dishing out new level of, again, 5-finger looking good, Popeye's biscuits, no honey, no butter, no syrup. I'm talking Biggest Dog Pound, Jake Sully, Menace Time. I'm talking every crack fiend of what it means to, in every situation, no matter how much the stakes, there ain't no sign of fear or give up in him. And even if there is, he still always makes a way. The level of, again, unyielding, unrelenting, I'm talking everlasting level of, tenacity in this dude. The drive is so impetuous that you can never even comprehend it. And the fact that he laid the foundation of, again, every mark for what his son would do, which is pretty much pull nonstop, big dunzel level activity. And the fact that he ran up on the nigga, the corporal, who had every capability to outbuck him. And when he talked shit on his family and he made the way for him to get out, Jake Sully could not let that nigga slide, talking down on his family. Popped back and was like, well, let's go then, little bitch. This nigga decided, I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm departing from any sense of the strategicalness, and I'm dabbling in the D1 crash out and rock that nigga, fling hands with that nigga, squabbled. I'm talking, he gave new relentless racket trades. You know what I'm saying? Like no other. I've never seen a dude be more persistent in bucking out Bianca Perrin. Don't get it twisted. Like in the trailer, they run that faithful one-on-one again, and he pull new lights of like basically what Exis Tentacion would be doing, bro. I'm just saying, like Jake Sully, you need to change that man's name to fully Dick Bucky. You know what I'm saying? My man got buckets for days. Iron chin, iron sig, more heart, beyond compare, vigorous. I'm talking Sabretooth. I mean, this man conquered the crimson scourge of the sky. Like, he is indeed a built different nigga. And I love the characterization of the type of moral dilemma that he's in, and representing a choice, representing a different conviction, representing how he loses more and more touch of his humanity and what he's doing, but he realizes, as he recaptures and he reads, more and more into the value that having, hope, having presence of faith, belief, care, and sympathy for the situations he's in, compassion, and better closure. He goes away from the type of ideals that Nateri will be stuck in their ways in. Nateri falls more to humanity and sees that always having this kind of prejudice, this hard a racism against, humanity, because they have this slur basically for them, and like pink skin, basically representing how humanity always looks kind of more fleshy and more weaker and more stuck in a very weak grasp of like existence. She has the luxury of seeing a better sight in humanity. And while this man, Jake, is struggling, juggling all this stuff, he still stands with every claim of, even though I'm put against, again, so many different odds, I still have enough in my veins to never give up. There is no sense of, stumble in my means. I never fumble, I'm never humble, and I stand 10 toes, a different dabbling of a grace of not only new purpose, because he is just not only so inspirational, but has a heart built with stone. And because he's Marine, he's soldier beyond compare. I mean, this man is the war chief, and he be rolling with a whole new level of swan buckets for days. He be rocking with every level of fiber of what it means to be in every equivalence, the type of nigga that your girlfriend told you not to worry about. And he still is new aflame goated. So I think even with the argument that how he treated his son and begrudgingly blaming him in his field, he still somewhat found a way to make peace with his son, be proud of him, find trust, see the fact that he needs to care for his not only family, but as well care for the man that is not only going to be a representation of him in the end, and that he needs to accept that even though his son, Zatayam, was great, his son is gone, and he needs to value what's in front of him. I think maybe there could have been a greater scene empathizing that, apology maybe, but I think in this situation they're in, they configured a great sense of thought-provoking purpose in mind. I think the Ash people is bussin'. I think them as a clan is unique. I love the antagonist, of them. I love her design. I love that she got this python hairnet filled with Kenta Kiss of AmonRa. This level of a Tuma degree of savagery, dishing out every sense of fierceness. Bad bitch. I'm talking she Azula of a galactic stand is all there. She becomes way more and greater big tie in every greater events. She's not just a one-off individualistic character attacking at the same time. She grows more in bigger tandem and big, very not too surprising, but very interesting personal grasp of, not only character, but unique feel of very much every level of enticing, lovely to be seen on screen. The voice actress does so much beautiful work. Her line where "Yo goddess has no dominion here," the ideals behind the action people, where they live, her character, how much of a big, goofy, every level of zealous, cutthroat, black or false energy. She, a me, mama, jamma is always shown. Plus, she could be rocking with so much case of cutthroat energy. She gets entangled with an interesting chap that, probably isn't too surprising to say, and another grounds for antagonistic stand. There's such unrackable trades, and necessarily comprehension, as Shawty and her ideal is pretty much to say, is a woman that is so enthralled, so much in addiction to using fire as a way to lay nothing but domination. Like fire, it does not discriminate, it eliminates all in path. She loves what she leaves in her wake. Charcoal, defeated, flatline opposition. And when she got thunder in the palm of her hands, she laid so much heavy smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire, that she recoiled and brought a new level of lightning destruction. She breathes like a dragon and haunts all in her wake. She is every level of dining and the fear that she parades. She is a menace. I'm talking, this is a yandere of wicked proportions. I love it. I love it so much. The fan base is going to be too much for this show. I'm not going to lie. But, that's some, weird, wild chaps around me. A lot of people around me seem drunk tonight. I ain't going to lie. But, that Spider, I think it got greatly explored in depth. I just think of everything from voice acting, soundtrack, cinematography, fight scenes, the animals, the cosmology, the technology, the ideals, the character progression, and the substance matter. I think it's all around beautifully done, and I think just a lot of stuff came together. So my conclusion in this 42-minute video of a lot of this great A-Yap, and again, me talking with my boy Jake Sully, I don't give a fuck was a person, uncomparable, unconventional, unorthodox, dog in every scrap. I'm talking about D1 squabbler. The definition of the blue I got time cuz was a nigga, out here rocking in every crevice of the most bad shit, crazy type of environment. And so you got little bitch, I love him. I love every style of his look, and I, again, love the voice actor, right? Jake Sully is easily top 10 go-to niggas of fiction. I would probably give this film, I gave, Avatar 1 to me. I think it's truly worthy of the claim of a masterpiece. I think the harshest level of critique pushes it to a lower 9 point something. There's no real greater stinging real weight of actual critique or possible means of complaint with it that isn't misunderstanding things that are not objective critiques about the movie and is more a personal issue, trying to be objective and standing from a very mixed, flimsy assertion of some things. I've never seen an actual real grounds for real in-depth, actual true verdict of actual complaint and downside of anything that the movie has done. And I think in every sense of the way it has done perfect sealing of every core element and fundamental layer of Danish like in no other level of heavenly fuego that it is. You know what I'm saying? I think Avatar 2, I gave a rating of all around greater critique, wanted to see a few different things, right? And potential, but it still lived its everything very, stupendously. A good 9. I think I would give this film, as it has a lot more 2 greater glaring errors. The reason why I would say Avatar 2 is not a full, perfect film is more from the fact that I feel like in the end there could have been a greater explanation in itself why and how, the daughter of, what's her name, that is explaining this movie, can pull from AWA so heavily and be attached to it and be literally connected to it so heavy. She becomes a physical guardian, becomes some form of herald to AWA, gets so attached with her that AWA seems to possess her in such a spiritually inept form. But to be fair, that's explained in the third film, so I can let that slide as being a kind of measly more nitpick of possible potential to be already outright greater explored and even talked about. But I think that can arguably give the film a greater 10. But I think this movie kind of just stumbled in that idea that I think I can now see a reason why Avatar 2 could be better, but I think I might have to rewatch Avatar 2 because they're basically about the same. The Avatar 3, those two glaring issues, I think I'll probably say this movie is deserving like an 8 point something to a good 8. It's not bad. It's just those are two big critical crackdown on the sculpture of the film, if that's even a good analogy. So yeah, that's my whole review. Spoiler free. Try not to spoil it. There's still more things I could greater talk about if I wasn't, trying to be as much, spoiler free and tangling the whole Christmas gift that this film pretty much is. It's very worthy to see, and I love it, and I hope this is the end of it all around. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm going to see you guys next time. I'm going to get home. I'm tired of almost like getting my voice to a different pitch. That kind of makes it seem like people are staring at me, or different like nerd fest was being said, because I don't feel like I'm being too loud, but just heavily, passionate, talking in greater in-depth form. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I love y'all. I'm going to go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Peace out, mommy. Love y'all.